Welcome back to Assay TV. I'm your guest host, Lyndsay Malchuk with Apaton Media. I'm joined by Franck Alloghe, co-head of sales at CrossBoundary Energy. Now, this is the copper belt where it sits at the center of global demand for critical minerals. Yet one of its biggest constraints has nothing to do with geology. It comes down to power. And Franck is working directly at the intersection of energy, mining, and growth in that region. Franck, it's great to have you and sit here with you, with all of us here today. And, how's the show been for you so far?
Well, it's a pleasure to be there in the rainy Cape Town for the day. No, it's a good start. It's a good start. It's my 10th endeavor, and it's always a pleasure to be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're definitely well versed, that's for sure.
I tend to think so, yeah.
Now, Franck, the copper belt is essential to the global copper story.
Correct.
Yet energy continues to be one of the biggest limiting factors here. So why has power become such a critical issue for miners right now?
Power generation is at the core of the investment decision and the operation of any mining companies.
Yeah.
If the power is not available at a fair cost, it brings three key issues. The first one is increase of operating cost.
Yeah.
Impact on project timeline, and a lot of volatility in terms of the predictability of the investment decision. So because of that, any mining company would first give a look at, in their DFS on their studies, they will first give a look at the geology for sure, the reserve, but also how can I get an affordable, reliable and guaranteed power generation for the years to come.
Okay.
So it's absolutely critical to make sure that when I invest in my mining project, I can get all those factors together, so my operating costs remain under control, and my investors are actually confident in doing the investment decision. The project is then bankable. Yeah.
It makes sense, 100%. And that pressure is not just theoretical anymore. I mean, it shows up very quickly on the ground. So how is your company sort of bridging that gap so that that is no longer so large?
When you don't have access to a grid which gives you cheap power generation, what happens as a mining company is that you will rely more and more on thermal power generation, okay, which is diesel or heavy fuel oil. And those two solutions, although they allow you to have power 24/7, which is critical for the mining company, it creates the issues of the cost. It's highly fuel intensive, it's highly costly, and you are subject to fuel price volatility. And on top of it, you have also the supply chain risk, because you have all those trucks that you need to bring in.
Always.
And you need to handle the quality of your fuel. So all those parameters are a problem. Where solar and the batteries power generation are solving the issue is that you come with a solution which is behind the meter, which is affordable, which is safe, and now you don't have the long-standing issue of intermittency. Remember, at night you don't have the sun.
This is true.
That was the problem. That was the problem eventually previously. But with the slash and the decrease on the cost of solar and batteries, now it becomes technically and financially viable to rely on baseload renewable power solution for the mining companies. So this is where those solutions make totally sense from a technical and financial perspective.
Well, that just brings so much more clarity around it. My question further to that is, how are energy shortfalls actually starting to impact mining operations more and more, and investors' confidence across that copper belt today?
The shortfall is as a major impact on the investment decision, as I mentioned. The investors, if you can prove them that you have a solution that is viable on the long run. Remember, we talk about 10, 15 years, 20 years duration project. Then if you can prove that you have a viable long-term solution, which will not which will not be impacted by the potential or not potential investment from the national grid, which can be difficult, then they can actually predict, they can actually have the stability on the investment that they do, and they know what would be the return on investment over the years. So this stability, this predictability is absolutely critical in the investment decision, and it brings the confidence to the investors, and then makes the investment much easier.
Of course. What would you say would be the biggest misunderstanding or the biggest thing that investors are still not getting right about your company?
Alternative exists.
Okay.
It's possible to do different than what we have done over the years. The mining sector is quite conservative, and I think investors must just have this view on the decrease on cost and the capability of those renewable system to actually handle the load in a safe, guaranteed, and affordable manner.
Right.
I think this is the first point I would mention. The second point is that the regulatory frame and the governmental support in the copper belt, but also in other parts of Africa, is becoming more and more present. So it's possible to go for fully financed solution, which will then put off balance sheet the cost of those power solutions. So it will be companies like CrossBoundary or others to actually invest, put the energy solution off balance sheet, and allow mining companies and investors to actually focus their capital where it brings more value for them, which is the cooperation.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, renewables are often talked about as a future solution, but CrossBoundary is already deploying them at a scale, which is incredible news.
Yeah.
So what is one of your projects? I'm going to probably say it wrong. The Kamoa Kakula.
Yeah.
You know, it's a copper mining complex solar area and battery baseload project. Tell us about what is now possible there. Tell us about this project.
Yeah, and this is I think this project is a good example.
Yeah.
In what we try to say. I mean, solar renewable, solar battery, or more largely renewable power solution it's not the future. It's now.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. We have currently projects running now on the continent. Kamoa Kakula is one of the biggest mining complex in Africa and in the world, one of the most power intensive, and they're actually looking to diversify and reduce the power generation burden on their shoulders. So they were looking for this type of solution, and actually we are building for them 30 megawatt base load power solution. It's happening now. The project is actually going extremely fast, so I think it's also an element to mention, the fast track of this type of power project. 9 months for solar, 12 months for batteries. So it goes super fast, and because the project is financed by the independent power producer, so there is no lengthy process for getting financial close, ensuring that you have the right technical capabilities, managing all the permits and all those legal constraints. It's done by the independent power producer, and then you focus on your operations. So I think it's where this type of project makes the difference. This Kamoa Kakula project is the first of its kind, but we are confident that the fundamentals of this type of project is just so much in favor of them versus diesel, HFO, heavy fuel oil, that we can only see them and then happening more and more on the continent and elsewhere.
Wow, it sounds so exciting. I know that we could probably sit here for so much longer and just talk about all of the things right here at CrossBoundary, but I wanted to end this conversation by just asking, what's next? Like in the coming quarters, what can investors or what can people expect in the next coming quarters?
I think really with the support of local authorities, with the regulatory frame being more and more friendly for power purchase agreement,
Right.
allowing over the fence, behind the meter, over the fence type of power generation. We can only expect more and more of those projects happening in the near future. It will surely allows investors to be more confident,
So great.
go faster,
So great.
and bring more wealth to the countries in which we operate, the mining companies, and the investors themselves. So I think it's just over the next years, this win-win situation will just be more and more visible, present on our market.
Well, it's been such a great conversation. Thank you for sitting with me. Enjoy the rest of the show as well.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Again, I was speaking with Franck Alloghe, co-head of sales at CrossBoundary Energy. Now, I have one more question. What's your website?
www.crossboundaryenergy.com.
Okay.
It's quite easy to find us.
Okay.
And yeah, if you have any question, all our details are there.
Perfect.
And you can also find us on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Just like my
Sounds
name.
great. Okay. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk, your guest host from Apaton Media for Assay TV. Keep following the energy solutions because this is where you're going to be able to decide how fast Copperbelt really grows. And we will see you next time. Stay tuned.